Recording in progress.
And to get stuff off my desk.
They had to put it more than that.
It didn't tell us.
Oh, David Kayla's were missing. Okay, I think we can begin at 7 o'clock. This is a regularly scheduled meeting, right? With the Public Facilities Committee. And at the beginning of the meeting, we have Councilor Getz from Ward 5, Councilor Vicky Danberg from Ward 6, President Laredo and Mayor-elect Laredo from Ward 7. We have from Ward 3, Councilor Kelly, from Ward 1, Councilor Leary, myself, Susan Albright from Ward 2. And I see online Councilor Gentile from Ward 4. And I think that's it for councilors. If I missed somebody. Oh, here's Councilor Taylor, it's just on time.
And not for you, nothing of that. No snacks, I mean, what?
Councilor Taylor from Ward 8 is complaining about the no snacks. You have also Attorney Lee. We have Director Z. And so let's get right into, well, we have some notes here for a later item. We'll introduce you when we get to this. The first item is 320-25, Eversource Energy petitioning a granted location to install and maintain approximately 120 feet of conduit in Armory Street northerly from Washington Street, 30 feet of conduit in Washington Street northerly from manhole MH7042, approximately 30 feet south of Armory Street. So, Eversource, who's here from Eversource?
I believe that's Joan Calendar.
Joanne?
Joan.
Joanne, are you here? From Eversource?
Yes, I am. Good evening.
Good, we're taking up the granted location before the easement, so why don't you just tell us a little bit about it?
Yes, so Eversource is seeking a grant location to install approximately 120 feet of conduit into Armory Street and 30 feet of conduit into Washington Street. And this is to provide underground service to the Armory building at 1137 Washington Street.
That's good. We like the underground service. Everyone's nodding their head. Are there any questions or Sharon, did you want to speak? Are you here, Sharon, from West?
Hi there. I'm Sharon Small. I'm here from Metro West Collaborative Development.
Did you want to speak on this one, or you want to wait until the easement, or what would you like to do?
I'm happy just to let Eversource speak on this one and then speak briefly on the easement.
Okay, sounds good. So does anybody, yes,
Are they gonna repave afterwards?
Joanne?
Are you folks gonna repave the entire street afterwards?
We'll do what the DPW requires us to do. If that's a requirement, then yes, we will do that.
We know when the street was last repaved.
Oh, I think it's been a while.
Well, I'm fine with that as long as you acknowledge that you have to follow our requirements.
We do, yes.
Okay, and certainly we'll expect our DPW to check on the quality of the repaving.
Not a problem.
Good, thank you.
Anybody
Alfredo
else?
shaking his head back there, yes.
Pardon?
Alfredo shaking his head back there, yes.
Good.
I'll just
Well,
want
we
to
check,
record
did you?
say that I think it's important for the Armory to have electricity.
Okay. So, who's making a motion?
Oh, Counselor,
Counselor?
or Chair Albright, we need to open the public hearing for this item.
Oh, sorry, there's a public hearing associated with this one. Let's open the public hearing. Is there anybody here that would like to speak on this item? You can raise your virtual hand or just wave your hand in front of the screen, and if we can see you, we will call on you. I think there is no one here to call on, so we can close the public hearing. Now is there a motion?
Move approval.
Okay, Councilor Danberg has moved approval. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay, that's unanimous. And so the next one is the easement, which is 338-25. Toronto the Mayor requesting authorization to grant an easement to N-Star Electric Company doing business as Eversource Energy at the West Newton Armory for the purposes of installing a transformer and other electrical equipment to service the Armory building. Sharon Small, did you want to speak about this one?
Sure. So this is an easement for Eversource to access equipment they'll be installing to provide an electrical connection to the armory. And since the city of Newton still owns the property, even though they provided a long-term ground lease to an affiliate of Metro West Collaborative Development, they would need to grant the easement.
Okay. Does anyone have any questions about that? No? Anybody online? No? Then would somebody like to make a motion?
I'll move approval. We have to open the public hearing.
Is there a public hearing on the easement? I don't think so. It's only on the granted
Oh, it's
location.
okay.
So
I'll move approval.
Counselor Danberg has moved approval. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay. Thank you very much. Thanks for coming and good luck with your project, Sharon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Next, 312-25. This is Toronto the Mayor requesting authorization to appropriate and expend the sum of $1,650,000 from June 30th certified 2025 certified free cash to support the city's vehicle replacement program. Alfredo, did you want to say anything about this?
I have a write-up. I can go ahead and read that. Would you like me to come to the table or I can?
Yes, please, come to
From
the
here.
table.
Okay,
So we have Alfredo Vargas, who's the city engineer. Is that the right title?
city engineer.
That's, yeah.
Yes, yeah, thank you.
Filling in for the commissioner who's out of town.
Yes, so, good evening, councilors. And for those who don't know me, I'm city engineer Alfredo Vargas. And I'm speaking on behalf of the Department of Public Works to respectfully request an appropriation of $1,650,000 from free cash to fully fund the FY 26 vehicle replacement program. The remaining $850,000 for vehicle purchases is included within the department's FY 26 operating budget. This request is consistent with the FY 26 capital improvement plan. Provided this funding early in the fiscal year will allow the city to place vehicle orders promptly as manufacturer order banks open, ensuring that procurement schedules align with production cycles. Missing these windows can result in delivery delays of 6 to 12 months, extending the service life of aging equipment and increasing maintenance costs. Early ordering also delivers measurable financial benefits. It can save the city an estimated $50,000 to $75,000 annually by avoiding model year price increases and late procurement markups. Conversely, delayed orders typically increase the cost by 3 to 5% per vehicle. Timely replacements reduce repair expenses, minimize downtime, and improve operational reliability across public works divisions. The vehicles scheduled for replacements are attached to the agenda for your information. Early appropriation of these funds will allow the department to maintain a reliable and efficient fleet, manage costs effectively, and ensure that essential public services such as street maintenance, stormwater compliance, and the snow operations continue without disruption. Thank you for your consideration of this request.
Okay, in the agenda, there was a compilation of what's being purchased. You had a chance to look at it.
Yeah.
Anybody- Yeah, anybody have any questions about it? Yeah,
So
Counselor
those,
Guest?
with just in terms of the model, really, because I'm seeing a list of like, 12 vehicles. And then I'm seeing a list of like 6 or, I don't know how many. But is it the kind of thing where, in terms of procurement, because I thought that we sell the old ones get some amount of dollars for those, and then it rotates into the balance or the fund. You know, so that then, you know, it feeds, it's a system, you know, that's a, you go to market and you procure this, what you're looking for, but then you sell the old one and it feeds into the pot. Am I correct in understanding this?
Yeah, so I'll try to jump in here. So yes, basically you're correct. A lot of times what we'll do is the ones we're trading out, we
Right.
will see if we can still use them for other purposes.
Oh,
And then there's often a vehicle that drops off the bottom and we trade in
okay,
and get some amount of money. So there is a system in place for trading in vehicles that for us are no longer useful, but they might be useful for somebody else and have some value. So we do get some money back from that, and that is all factored into the amount of money that we're asking for and we budget for vehicle replacement on an annual basis. So it's all part of the system.
and then just the other question I had was just even in terms of the vehicles that they are, the state of technology is now that we can get electrical bulldozers, right? We're not there yet. Are we?
We're not there yet, bulldozers. We are getting closer, you know, there's been some setbacks lately, but there are larger pieces of equipment that are now becoming either plug-in hybrid or hybrid.
Right.
I mean, a plug-in electric or electric. And we're continuing to evaluate those models to make sure that they operate, you know, they get the job done that we need to get done, whether it's plowing or street sweeping or whatnot, without paying a massive markup.
Right.
And also, we like to make sure that some other communities have done it first before we do it. Not that we're gonna wait forever, but we do like to see them operating elsewhere first. So we're continuing to watch
Yeah.
the trends.
And I'm having a lot of gas replacement on my street right now, so to my grandson's amusement, all of the vehicles are right there. And they, you know, they say clean idle, you know, there's all sorts of standards that are slowly but surely getting better, you know, and I'm assuming that this fleet will have those.
Yes, yep, yeah, and a lot of that is already built into federal codes. They haven't all been, you know, discarded, but we are, wherever we can, you know, whether it's idling, I look at Counselor Leary, who this was a topic of hers for a number of years. So it is an issue, and wherever we can, with vehicles that not, you know, belch smoke into your neighborhood while they're doing their work.
Yeah, yep.
Yeah.
Counselor Kalis.
How consistently do we capture $50,000 to $75,000 a year? Like, has that been an ongoing thing?
I think it is consistent, but I can ask. I don't know for sure.
So could we budget 1.6?
We do not budget 1.6. We don't have that.
I'm just wondering if I could save that money or not.
No.
Okay. Also, is this the type of thing where the savings come from the city jumping on an opportunity, like if they see something come up and it's underpriced, something like that?
It's jumping out. It's a couple things. I think it's jumping on opportunities. It's also getting our orders in before the model year markups happen or in December and January. So if we do it right now, we can save, I think, 3 to 5%, you heard, per vehicle, which adds up.
Okay.
Yeah.
So are you, Meg,
Yeah, Counselor Lorraine.
so are you placing the order for the following year's model?
I believe that's the case, yeah.
Without
Do we
knowing
list?
whether that model has been, you're assuming the
Yeah.
model's gonna come out.
Correct.
And you're assuming there's a price increase when you have a new model, so we're saying, we'll give you the money now
That's
for
right.
that new model, and you
I-
get the cash now, which they like.
I believe that's how it works with these dealers. Yeah.
Good deal. Anybody else? Yes,
Move approval.
okay, Counselor Kalis moves approval. Any other discussion? Okay, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Okay, that passes unanimously.
Thank you.
I don't know if actually Council Gentile is voting or not. Council Gentile, did you vote on that one?
I voted on all of them. I just keep my, you know,
Okay, good, thank you.
my
for that.
audio off so I don't do or say something stupid by mistake.
Okay, very good. Okay, so now we come to the last two items. 103-24, Councilor Albright on behalf of the Public Facility Committee requesting update on planning and construction of the Bullows Pond Dam, and 418-24, Veronica the Mayor requesting a discussion of the Bullows Pond Dam Rehabilitation Project and preferred safety design.
Should I get Councilor Kelly?
Oh, yes, would you, would,
Yeah, I can be the insignificant person. who goes to that.
Let's go get her.
Oh,
We started
Down
this, yeah,
hall.
she asked to.
She and the transparency service.
Thank you.
Services.
Yes.
She wants to talk to the transparency issue that apparently the docket item that she.
Oh.
Yeah, I know, I didn't even look at it or see,
Oh.
but.
Yeah, I saw that.
That's the other piece.
I don't know everything.
Yeah, well, I was.
we'll give a minute,
Okay,
we'll give a minute.
well, we're running ahead of schedule, are we not?
Yeah.
Lisa,
City engineer,
the
is
presentation.
she coming now or she'll be in?
There.
Ah, there you are.
That was fast.
I know. Thanks, Love.
Didn't even get to hear their report.
Okay, so I sent you guys a memo over the course of on Monday, I sent it. Yes, and to have a way to guide us through the conversation tonight. And we have Mr. Nickerson here from GEI, along with Mr. Vargas, who's our city engineer still. And of course, Mr. Yo, who's our COO. And we have did you have to sign into your mail? That happens if the interest most, you know, you have to sign in to Authenticator, it's the weirdest time.
Well, we've all read it.
What?
We've all read it.
Yes. So, did you bring a presentation for us?
Yes.
Okay, well, why don't we start there then? You
Uh,
wanna join us at the table?
Yeah, Alfredo, why don't you?
Yeah, go ahead and join me at the table. I'm just gonna give a brief introduction. Once again, good evening. And for those who don't know me, I'm city engineer Alfredo Vargas, and I'm joined virtually by our former city engineer Lou Taverna to discuss the Bullows Pond Dam Rehabilitation Project. Before we get into the details of the project, I would like to introduce our consultant, Jim Nickerson, from GEI Consultants. He's a senior water resource engineer with extensive experience in dam safety evaluations, rehabilitation, design, and regulatory compliance. He's been leading the technical analysis for the Bullows Pond Dam rehabilitation alternatives, including hydrologic and hydraulic modeling. I will start the presentation by going over the condition assessment, and Jim will walk us through the key differences between a dam overtopping and a dam breach. So if you can please go to the next slide. So a reminder of the reasons for the dam rehabilitation. The city is under the order of the Office of Dam Safety to address the significant hazard potential of the dam, which could lead to significant property damage and or loss of life. The primary spillway is undersized. Overtopping is likely during a design storm, and overtopping would likely lead to a dam breach under the current condition of the dam. Woody vegetation on the dam is required to be cleared, and masonry repairs are needed at the spillway and low-level outlet. Next slide, please. This is a statement that we recently received from the Office of Dam Safety. And it says if the city fails to approve any repairs and therefore fails to comply with the dam safety order, what actions might the state take? And the answer from the Office of Dam Safety is that the dam would remain in poor condition and considered a heightened, unacceptable risk to public safety. As such, the certificate of non-compliance and dam safety order would remain in full force and effect. Please be advised that per Dam Safety Regulations 302 CMR 10.13, the owner shall be responsible and liable for damage to property of others or injury to persons, including but not limited to loss of life resulting from the operation, failure of, or misoperation of a dam. Next slide, please, and Jim will continue with the presentation.
Thanks. I think we just had a couple slides. I think we wanted to talk a little bit, just it seemed like there was maybe a little confusion of overtopping versus a dam breach. So I wanted to spend a few minutes to hit those topics. So, you know, a dam overtop, you know, what happens with a dam and a reservoir is we have a normal pool that's operating out there today. We get rainfall events that sends more water into the reservoir. If we have more water than can pass through the primary spillway, the pond level starts to rise. Once we get to a level where it no longer is contained by the top of the dam, we have an overtopping event where water starts to spill across the top and down the backside of the dam and returns back to the stream downstream. You know, these tend to be, you know, limited. We have a lot of water that has to rise up to the top of the dam. The peak inflows are generally the ones that start to get to that point. The duration is somewhat limited. And if a dam is not designed to have that overtopping, it can lead to a breach scenario, which we'll talk about next. But if it is designed for an overtopping event, you know, it would be likely to be able to withstand that without a further, you know, release of water besides what goes over the top of the dam. Next slide. In a breach event, really the main difference is we lose control of the reservoir. So not only do we have the water that was going over the top, going over and down into the area downstream of the dam, but it begins to cause an erosion effect that ultimately becomes a structural failure of the dam, and we lose control and not only send the inflows that are coming into the reservoir downstream, but also all that stored up water that's within the dam itself. We have no control over that, and that gets released also. So I think just to summarize the two differences here in this particular scenario, you know, an overtopping event where we're talking about, you know, water going over the top of the dam, but if we've designed things to withstand that erosion, there would be limited damage to the dam itself. Whereas if a dam breach happens, we would end up with a large erosion channel through there with a lot of the water being released. We would have, you know, pretty significant water going downstream. I think there's a big difference between the two scenarios here at Bulls Pond. You know, we're estimating about 400 CFS cubic feet of water per second in a dam overtopping event during a peak, which would be, you know, for a couple of hours. Versus the breach would allow something on the order of 16 to 18,000 cubic feet per second of water to go down, and that would last really until the entire reservoir is emptied. So those are really kind of the big differences. You know, at the end, if we design this to withstand the overtopping, there would be pretty minimal damage to Dexter Road in the current condition. With a breach, that road would largely be destroyed, including the utilities that run through the road.
So could you, I was looking up, what does it look like? What is a 1,700 cubic feet per second breach look like? What does it feel like? What damage does it do? I have a description that I found, but
Yeah.
can you describe that?
That's a difficult, because there are dams, it's all about the size, right? So, a large dam could pass 1,700 CFS and you wouldn't even notice it, whereas this dam is not, is a small dam. So in that context, I think a breach would be violent, right? You'd have, a loss of control, which would have very turbulent water, going in every direction it wants to go. When I've seen these in different videos of these types of failure events, you can look at them up on YouTube, and see the power of the water. It can be pretty devastating.
Can I read to you what I found and you
Sure.
tell me if this sounds right? A flow of 1,700 cubic feet per second looks like a substantial volume of fast-moving, powerful water. It is typically considered a medium to high or high flow condition for many rivers and streams, especially during spring runoff or a flood event. Here is the visualization of what to expect. Volume 1,700 CFS means that 1,700 cubic feet of water is flowing past a specific point every single second. To visualize this, imagine 1,700 boxes, each one 1 foot wide, high and deep, about the size of a basketball in volume, rushing past you every second. This is equivalent to over 12,700 gallons of water per second. With respect to force and speed, the water is moving with significant force, capable of carrying large debris, swallowing entire trees, and quickly submerging riverbanks and low-lying road crossings. With respect to appearance, the river will appear high, wide, and swift. The water is likely churning and turbulent with powerful waves and long rapids. In the context of a small river stream, it would be extreme, potentially catastrophic flood, quickly overtopping banks and flood surrounding areas. And the last comment that was made was, in short, 1,700 square feet, 1,700 CFS represents a very large, powerful, and potentially dangerous amount of water that demands caution. So that was the description that I found for.
Councilor Albright, where is that from?
It was from someone's, I forgot to write it down. It was from someone's write-up about a 1,700 square foot.
Why would somebody- I mean, forgive me, but forgive me.
I will be glad to find you the
I'm
reference.
trying to understand. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I will be glad to find you the reference. I forgot to put it in this document.
And that's of a breach.
That is a breach of and the peak flow at Hull Street is 1,700
So
square
somebody
feet.
wrote an article with a breach of exactly that amount of water that we have here?
It was an article about flooding and it was, yes, it was mentioned, that was exactly mentioned in there.
And we just happen to have the exact same amount of water in this pond as they referenced in that article?
No, there's nothing they talked about, and with respect to appearance, they talked about a small stream, a medium-sized river, and a very wide, large river. So I read you the small one because we don't have a very wide river.
But I'm trying, forgive me, but I'm trying to understand the correlation. You said what, 17,000? What?
1,700
1,700
cubic feet.
Cubic feet per
cubic
second.
feet per second. Okay, I understand that statistic, and I'm just trying to correlate it with the information you're giving us.
Madam Chair,
Yes,
if I could, I think one thing Jim said at the very beginning when we started discussing volume is very important to remember. The number is almost irrelevant in that it really depends on the size stream. And what we have in Laundry Brook is a relatively small channel downstream of the pond. And then we have culverts. So whatever, 1,700, a breach is gonna cause a wall of water coming down through a small channel. And then trying to get in through the culverts that we have that go under the high school and then through the neighborhoods, through the village center, and then eventually to Watertown and into the river. So the challenge is less about 1,700 can mean one thing, one place and a completely other thing, another thing in a big
On the
stream.
Mississippi River.
But it's not big there, but here, and I guess in this situation, a breach is something we really all do not want. I think that's the bottom line because of the damage that would cause.
Just before I call on you, I'll
Yeah.
tell you the reason why I wanted this discussion is because Councilor Mickley keeps saying there's basically no difference between a breach and an overtopping. And I wanted people to understand that there were three numbers that Mr. Nickerson gave us for each, at Hull, at Newtonville Ave, and I think there was someplace in the middle. And while the numbers of the height of the street flooding was similar at the three locations, cross, breach, and overtopping, the peak flow and Hull was 4 times the size of an overtopping. So the speed and force of the water is very different in the breach as opposed to an overtopping.
So then, Chair Albright, so personally, I fully understand the difference between overtopping and breach. Breach is a violent act that comes on very suddenly.
Right.
Overtopping is a traumatic event, but doesn't happen as suddenly. It doesn't lead to a lot of spoil and other things going over. The issue I have and continue to have here is, I just heard from the Chief Administrative Officer that a significant part of the problem is that the stream is not wide enough and the culverts are not in good enough shape. That's a problem that we're not touching here. So we still could have a breach, we still could have an overtopping, and we're not building the capacity downstream to deal with it.
So are we dealing, if we fix the dam as required by the Office of Dam Safety, are we still in danger of having a breach?
We remove the danger of the breach. If they left with the overtopping.
Right.
But that's a huge issue.
But we have, the thing that Commissioner Sullivan, who unfortunately wasn't able to be here because she's at a conference, the thing that she has told us is that we have an overtopping, unquote, unquote, situation in a 100-year storm all over the city. And the problem is probably even more severe, is what she's told us, in many other parts of the city than it is here. And they do have you've hired a company?
Yes.
I don't
Yeah.
remember who the
Yeah,
company
we'll be
is.
undertaking a large project to create a stormwater management, update our stormwater management plan, looking at many parts of the city, including Newtonville, and looking at what needs to be done. There's many different aspects of things that can be done to help improve during storms. The challenge, I think we should all be realistic, is during one of these 100-year type events, is that we're never going to be able to build our culverts and our streams big enough to completely mitigate the damage from that type of event. But we're certainly gonna.
The overtopping?
For the breach, no.
Well, during an overtopping is during a 100-year storm, when your neighborhood's gonna be underwater. And many other parts of Newton are gonna be, have serious flooding challenges, including Newtonville. So the overtopping will just make Newtonville's a little bit worse.
I mean, the overtopping or the breach?
I'm talking about the overtopping.
Overtopping.
The breach is a whole different story.
Yeah, okay.
Right.
Counselor Dick Taylor.
So with the overtopping, I mean, what I'm hearing is that we need a plan also for the culverts and the streams.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you're saying that's in a larger plan?
That is correct. When we have a current plan that we need to update it, that's something we're gonna do over the next 16, 18 months.
So whereas
Citywide.
I think what we need for this is something that is dedicated to this.
Yes. It dedicated in the sense of fixing what the Office of Dam Safety says will
No,
cost.
so it's fixed, it's both what the Office of Dam Safety is saying and the culverts and streams on the other side, and making sure those can handle a overtopping.
I don't know that we're ever gonna be able to. We asked you that question in the meeting. And I think,
Well, I think that's an internal question.
That's, Chair Albright, may I just add, so look, it strikes me that we do have a stormwater plan that already addresses the inadequacies of this area, right?
We do.
Okay, and what's the recommended fix under the current stormwater plan?
We have in this drainage basin, we've undertaken, we've dredged City Hall ponds. That was a big help. We're planning to do some work at Edmonds, which is part of this drainage basin, not directly into the pond here, but it's another part. We've done some work further upstream. I mean, there's smaller things that we're doing where we can. Looking at culvert replacement is getting to be a mega capital program, which
I'm just
Yeah.
asking about
Yeah.
the stream and the culvert
Yeah.
directly downstream from Bolos Pond.
Yeah.
Do we have anything in the plans that addresses that?
not currently.
Not at all.
Not currently. I don't think there is anything.
How difficult would it be just to address that one segment and find out what has to be done there?
It could be part of it can be part of the study, and I think that the challenge is to really do it. The water has to get through Watertown first. And we have culverts running through people's backyards. And in order to upsize all of that, to make it, to help address these kinds of flows is, potentially an extremely, I'm just trying to be realistic here, it gets to be a very large project. Could we do, yeah, we'll certainly look at all of these streams. We're gonna look at all the streams and all the culverts and all of the infrastructure of our stormwater system during this study, including this exact.
I'll leave that for another day,
Mhm.
but my sense here is that I don't know. We clearly have to do something about the dam. My issue is I don't know if what we're proposing is really gonna be the right solution or not. And no one has gone to the Office of Dam Safety, presented plans that said, will you accept this or will you reject it? We've had conversations.
Yeah.
We haven't presented anything.
Right, because that's their process is we pick something, we the city pick something and we present it to them through our engineers. They have approved these exact kind of projects in other locations.
Why can't we submit 2, 3, 4 different projects, models, give it to them and ask for approval or disapproval?
We can, the way they like to do it, Jim, you jump
Well,
in
I
here,
would
because
say-
you have more experience.
The challenge is it needs to be designed, so you'd have to go through a full design on each of those and submit a dam safety permit, that's their trigger to.
Is that written anywhere, or is that just kind of the way it's done? I mean, I'm trying to understand how this works.
It's the way it's done in the conversations we've had when we suggest alternatives, we do have informal discussions, would you accept this? And they would say either flat out no, or it really depends if, we would give you a chance, we would review, but you need to prove X, Y, and Z. So they want to give the flexibility for the community to come up with a plan and submit it to them. And they're open-minded, until they're not.
So where we are in the process, I just want to make sure I understand. What you've done is 3 conceptual designs. And you have to go to final design
Correct.
for one or more if Councilor Rado's idea comes through. And bring those final designs for approval to the Office of Dam Safety.
And it's generally a permit application to implement this particular project. I don't know that I've seen a permit application where it's, project A, B, or C. I haven't seen that done.
Councilor Danbury?
I think what Counselor Laredo is saying is there, and I agree with it, is there any reason why we couldn't go bring the concepts, 3 or 4 concepts to them and say, if we were to develop out this concept, would this work? Because obviously no city or town is going to spend the money to do complete design
Right.
plans, 100% design plans on 4 or 5 different projects.
Yes.
Have we done that? Do we know that they would accept this plan if we get 100% design?
We've talked with them about the 3 different options we've presented in the previous discussions we've had with the committee. They basically said, submit what you want, we'll review it and give you a formal opinion at that point. They don't love options 1 and 2. Is what that's the feedback, but they won't. Oh, right.
Did they put that in writing?
No,
No, they, you know, if you read the letter they sent us, they very clearly do not. They do not offer at this stage yet, or their exact opinion. I think what we heard, and I think we were all in the room when we heard from them, several months ago. I think they have some concern about, is it option one, which is the, sheet pile? I think that, I think concerns them because they have not done a lot of those. The core wall, they clearly, like you, know that certain things need to get done as part of that project. To strengthen the dam. And then the third one, option 3, is something they've seen and approved before, so they understand that one. So I think that's sort of where we are with the Office of Dam Safety.
Who
One thing-
oversees the Office of Dam Safety?
The Department of Conservation and Recreation, yeah.
So they have supervisors you could go to, right?
Well,
mean, they're not-
no, they're really an independent entity. They have their own regulatory authority. They're not,
Can I just make a
you
comment?
don't, let me just say, put it this way, you can't go to the political administration and have them overrule the Office of Dam Safety. It's sort of an independent regulatory.
They don't have a boss organization.
They're housed within the Department of Conservation and Recreation, which is part of the Executive Office of Environmental Affairs.
So can I ask you, Mr. Nicholson, I read the material, I went all the way back to 2018 and read everything. And the first consultant that we hired had a proposal like option 3, it was almost the same as option 3. Then we went out for bid, and in your material that you sent to us in your application to do the work, you said, I think the sheet pile option is a really good option, and I would like to really get into the sheet pile option. And I think you were hired because of that request that you made. I'd like to get into the sheet pile operation. Then you gave us your options and your choices, and you rejected the sheet pile operation.
Well, we carried it forward as a potentially viable option. I thought, I know the community really wants to keep the trees. I was willing to help make the pitch that we would sell to the Office of Dam Safety, that everything downstream of that was no longer part of the dam. The sheet pile's over, or we need, but the more we evaluated and see some of the complexities with the depth to rock and how that interaction would go, and in our conversations with the Office of Dam Safety, they'd still require a significant clearing around all the components of the dam, which would be the low-level outlet pipes that go through and the head walls, and the primary spillway. You still need 20 feet off of that. So by the time we divvied up the areas where we would save trees or would have to cut down trees, there was a pretty small benefit, with a large risk that wouldn't be very successful.
Okay.
So I think that's shifted my opinion from when we started.
So I think it's important for us to realize that there were 2 consultants who are major consultants in this field, and both of them came up with the same recommendation at the end of the day. And this was what, 6 years later? We're finally at the same place where we started with the other consultant. Finish your questions.
Could you go back to the first of the mountain graphics? That one, yes. And on this, can you describe to us where the trees are? Is there?
The trees are really from here down.
Okay, that's what I thought, but I wanted to make sure. And the reason why the trees cannot stay there is that they would destroy the integrity of or you could not put the product that you're gonna put on that slope that would allow for an overtopping and a safe sliding down of the water without destroying that side of the dam itself.
Well, the primary reason is because they're not allowed by the state of Massachusetts.
But because.
Because
They're not,
of that,
they're not allowed because the roots dig into the embankment itself can cause seepage pathways. Things can decay over time. They cause challenges with doing inspections of the dam itself. So those are the reasons that the states and the federal agencies these vegetation-free zones on dams and levee embankments. So
Yeah, I think the FEMA guidance also makes it clear that during an overtopping event, the trees are not gonna help keep the structure of the dam together, so they're gonna help take apart the dam, so.
Okay, all right,
Yeah.
thank you, that answers my question.
I think Counselor Kelly is next. I have everybody.
Thank you. I think we have understood for several meetings now the difference between overtopping and breach, but I appreciate you starting there to remind us. And it sounds like we cannot plan for preventing a breach. We are just trying to deal with an overtopping. Correct?
I think we are planning to avoid the breach by armoring for the overtop.
You think you are planning to avoid a breach
We're
by the situation?
correct.
Okay.
So but we cannot stop the overtopping.
Gotcha. Okay. And when you were talking about warning time, the reason the warning time is hours for an overtopping is that is a more predictable event, but the breach is a sudden, unpredictable event?
Correct. Yeah, so when we have these inflows, you know, the DPW is activated, they're monitoring things, you can see the water levels come up. Even if we get an overtopping event, at first it can be a trickle, you know, so you're seeing it happen, you've got some time to enact emergency operations. You know, in a breach event though, that is an instantaneous time where it occurs.
You have no forewarning that the breach is gonna come and planning ahead. It's like this unexpected catastrophic
It can be,
thing.
yeah.
Okay. So it seems to me that given that we're considering a study and a plan of a greater scope that encompasses streams and culverts like a citywide stormwater study, that whatever we do, say today or soon, might just be a Band-Aid that doesn't actually solve the problem.
I think it solves the dam safety problem. It doesn't necessarily reduce the downstream consequences to some of that flood that can
And
occur.
that, to me, seems short-sighted. I'm worried about the dam safety issue because I don't want the city to be sued for negligence if an overtopping, which seems to be expected, happens and flooding occurs and the city gets sued for millions of dollars. So I see that dealing with this now will help ameliorate the likelihood of that. But the bigger question is what's really the right thing to do here?
Well, Counselor Downs made a proposal that we heard from a lot of people. The real way to deal with the overtopping is to get rid of the dam.
I'm sorry.
I agree with that totally, but I don't think that's a feasible solution.
I just wanted you to know that there's a way to deal with the overtopping.
Yes,
And that's to get rid of
with
the
natural condition
Yeah,
as a wetland, which I agree environmentally would be a good solution, but I don't think that that's a feasible solution in the environment we're living in.
and it was rejected as an option.
That would be the best thing. I'm not big on engineered solutions to what Mother Nature is trying to lead us to. And that's what happened. Bellows Pond was a man-made created invention that now many people enjoy aesthetically, visually, walking, and real estate value. And I don't see us backing off that. So I just wanted to understand it. To me, it just doesn't seem like an adequate or thorough enough solution, except for the dam safety and the threats of fines and lawsuits, which will pass to the city later with a new mayor.
Is this on this point? Because I have others that,
On all sides, that's all I wanted to say for now.
On that point.
on that point.
But on that point, I agree with what you just said. But I see this as a phased issue. That first we have to solve the dam problem. And at the same time, we then make a plan for what I see is a mega project of ripping up all the culverts everywhere that need to be made bigger and enlarging them. That's going to take a huge amount of money and eventually needs to be done. But I don't see it as either we do it all now or we do nothing at all. or we take this dam away. I think that the phased, project idea of fixing, making sure that the worst we get is an overtopping and not a breach. And then that buys us a little bit of time to work on a plan.
But we're not considering or agreeing with any of the suggestions that the Bellows Pond people have put forward.
Which is what,
Which is to keep the trees, basically.
Excuse me,
That's
I'm
what
new
the
to the
village
Beach Pond Association and I can speak for us. You're not a member.
That's my question, is why are we ignoring those suggestions?
okay, I think that we brought those suggestions. We may get to that, Ms. Greaser, but with those, there was a 4-point or 10-point, or I forget the number of points, plan that was Councilor Gentile brought to your attention during our last meeting in September. And I think, do you remember that? Do you want to hear them again?
I recall that, but I don't remember the.
Do you want to, would you like to reiterate what the 4 points are, the 6 points, whatever they were, I forget.
The 6 points, what I want to say is that, the latest suggestions from the Bellows Pond Association and from the working group have not been presented accurately in correspondence with Mr. Saloma. We did not ask for option 2, the concrete core wall. We did not ask for that with excluding any tree removal. In fact, just the opposite. I went and whispered in Mr. Yo's ear, you'll be surprised. What we're opposed to is the armoring. That's what we're opposed to. Because the thinking on trees on dams is changing. We're a little bit behind the times at Mass ODS. In other parts of the country, the thinking is starting to change about that. They're recognizing the value of trees. And I will point out that in the most recent inspection of the Arlington Reservoir Dam, they passed inspection, their 2023 inspection, because they found that they were not having extensive tree overtopping during storms. And where root balls came up, they were advised to fill them with gravel and soil, make sure that no further erosion occurred. So if the same Office of Dam Safety that's run by Mr. Saloma approved that inspection report for the Arlington Dam, it says to me that if the same thing happened here on our little slope, I don't see why we couldn't do the same thing. And if you don't address Hull Street, and that's not part of the dam order, you're going to have catastrophic flooding. And I've been going out every time we have heavy rain, including at the last nor'easter, and there is no one from DPW at that grade. Nobody, and there's no debris. There doesn't need to be anybody, but the idea that someone could stand there on a DPW truck with a rake and solve the problem. I go down there all the time in the heaviest rain, there's no debris. So we did not ask for an extended concrete core wall and no tree removal. If the trees have to go, fine, because the thinking at ODS is going to eventually catch up with the rest of the country, and they'll recognize that trees can exist on dams. But meanwhile, we will have a much stronger concrete core wall. So that was what we asked about, but that's not the way it was presented in communications between the DPW and Mr. Saloma.
So does the Bellows Pond Association have an option that they like better than option 3?
When we first met, when the working group first met, Mr. Taverna was there. I don't know if Mr. Yo was there, but you were certainly there, and so was Lee Wooten. And we talked about extending the core wall, and we talked about extending the core wall and then cladding it with stone so that it looked like a kind of country stone wall and it wouldn't change the overall look. But we could add 3-4 feet that way. It actually would be a nice thing. It would provide some seating for people who want to look down into Laundry Brook Forest. There were great ideas, All of those ideas have just disappeared. Every time we bring them up, they just disappear. We see the same three things over and over again. Julia Maliki has investigated the most modern weir technology. She went to a conference of engineers who work on dam safety. She met engineers, this is last month, she met engineers from all over the country, all over the world, including people in Massachusetts who are making mechanisms to remediate historic dams in other states. There are people building this technology here, but it's like it doesn't exist in this room. So we could improve our weir. We could have a strengthened core wall. We could have an extended height of our core wall. We could prevent overtopping. We could make the dam weir, the flow that goes through it, meet ODS standards. But we don't ever talk about any of those things. And when in the working group, every time we asked, we got nothing for years.
Mr. Nickerson, could you respond to that?
Well, I would say, the extension of the core wall, those are two different topics, I think that you just mentioned.
They're two different
Because the
topics.
core wall is in the middle of the street, so we're not gonna extend that above the street.
Well, we talked about that with Mr. Wooten at the at the kickoff
We
meeting.
talked about potentially using another retaining wall type structure on the backside of the dam. We looked at different ideas that frankly just didn't flush out as being feasible as we tried to put.
They've never been presented to the Office of Dam Safety.
I will say, we did talk extensively with the Office of Dam Safety about the core wall option and the trees, and what we were attempting to do was minimize the number of trees taken. And so I think, as Jim has pointed out, what they wanted to have happen, if we did pursue the core wall strengthening, which is certainly an option, which this, city council could act upon. And what, as Jim was saying, what they want and they're requiring the city to do is remove trees a certain distance from the critical pieces of the dam. And so what we did is mapped that out to minimize, and it's really been our goal to minimize, I hope you believe that, to minimize the number of trees taken down. So that's how we've mapped it up. That's the difference, the 172 versus the 199.
I do understand that, but what I don't understand is how the auxiliary outflow mechanisms don't count as part of the dam, but they still have to be inspected. If we're going to have a dam that's this flawed, why don't we actually reconstruct the core wall and actually put in downstream outflow mechanisms that are sensor activated and automatic? No human intervention, no person standing with a rake at Hull Street. We could do that. We could have a dam that's much safer and that meets the compliance standards for ODS, but none of that has been presented.
The challenge is that those don't flow enough water. The current pipes that are there are 24-inch pipes. Those flow about 40 CFS.
Right, so we need new ones.
So the size of those pipes would have to be increased, and they wouldn't be pipes anymore. We'd have to have probably like a 60-foot culvert to be able to pass that kind of water to
Okay.
stop it from
So why
overtopping.
can't you do that?
Does that involve the landscape?
That would essentially take out Dexter Road and have to be a whole new structure street there.
I think you might, with respect, you might want to get some other views on that, because there are people who are remediating historic dams similar sizes to ours, and they're not having to do quite that much. And I will point out once again that this dam has been there since 1664. It has never overtopped. It has never been breached.
Okay, so I have some folks that want to speak, so let me go ahead with that. I think Counselor Getzler next.
We've been everywhere here. I'm just like, I'm actually sort of curious, what is the current capacity in the Bolos Pond itself right now? Just even in terms of the 100-year storm and it reaching a level where it would overtop. Do we know that number? Do we have any sense of that?
Meaning like what storm event would?
I look at the level of Bolos Pond today, and then I sort of see a reservoir or a height that could go quite high before it would overtop. So I'm just curious, has it ever even reached a point where it's even suggesting that it's gonna overtop historically? Do we know?
Historically, I think anecdotally, people have said it's, within a few feet or so of the top, but I don't, that's almost like anecdotes that I've heard.
You
Yeah.
know,
I don't-
but
I don't
I'm
have the
curious
correct
because I just
information.
think of it as internal, in terms of,
Question.
and I'm just curious because I just don't know. I don't know. And I'm sort of thinking that, but then also too, it puts an incredible amount of pressure on the existing historic dam, I'm sure. But I went through all of the Office of Dam Safety letters and it sort of seemed to suggest that they were pretty much okay. They were sort of in the sequence of letters. And they were actually even suggesting that we are reaching compliance, in terms of the actions that have been taken and the inspections that have been performed, so it sort of seemed like we were okay. So now I'm curious, where are we with them just, in terms of compliance? Can we still continue to explore our options? Are we, even in this last email that Commissioner Sullivan had with them, then the one that was dated October 30th, it sort of seemed as if they were narrowing and saying that they would only even really consider alternative 3, which was a little disappointing because it sort of seemed as if it was the Office of Dam Safety and DPW making an agreement to that plan. And we were out of the picture, in terms of just the consideration. So I don't know, how, in terms of process, whether or not we can continue down the road of discussing this and coming with a bigger sort of solution to, what is the issue here. Do we know?
Operator.
No.
So we could, we could continue to evaluate options. The problem that we find ourselves in right now is that the dam is not adequately sized for a 100-year storm. And the Office of Dam Safety has told us that with the trees on the downstream side of the dam, the dam currently is not meeting compliance, is not compliant. So if something were to happen during that period of time, the city is going to be liable for the safety of the public and for the damages that could occur to private property and the city infrastructure as well.
So do we have law here? No, I'm just asking if we have law here, because I was out here.
Andrew, Attorney Lee, are you still here?
I thought I saw him.
He was here earlier, but I don't think he seems to have gone.
Okay, because that's a big question for me. I sort of wonder whether or not, where's the liability? And if in fact there's a catastrophic event, how is that handled? In terms of if in fact the dam is breached, that's something that can happen tomorrow, just out of boom, it's gonna happen. So I wanted to understand the legal aspects of that, because it's hanging over us right now, but I would love to have a conversation, with the law department so that
Do you want to text him and see if he can come back?
Counselor.
Yes.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, I think she knows her hand has been up.
So your friends.
Oh, sorry. That was.
Okay.
So architect.
This, as a committee, we rely on experts, right? In a lot of ways, we can't be experts in everything, particularly something as sophisticated as engineering. So I've been on this committee for quite a few years, and for 8 of those years, we've been discussing this dam. 8 years. And I'm just kind of thinking, we haven't had answers to these questions yet, or there's been more concerns coming up. But I feel like I have gotten enough information to make a decision this evening. So I've come to that by saying it appears that there is not an appropriate dam design that we have now that would allow us to keep a significant more number of trees. And I know that's what we're all concerned about. The other thing that concerns me is right now that dam is a significant hazard. I understand the remarks of Councilor Laredo And we all agree with that. Our stormwater system needs a long-term plan and we need to act quickly. And it's gonna be very expensive. That's not something we're gonna be, it took us 8 years to talk about this one dam. How long is it gonna take us to talk about our whole stormwater plan? And how much our residents of Newton are gonna have to pay for that? I am not prepared to continue to delay this discussion much longer. Because I am concerned that that dam is a hazard. We've been told by the state it's a hazard. We've been told by our engineers that it's a hazard. I don't want the city to be liable. I don't want people's property to get destroyed. And we could have a significant storm anytime. So, and I understand we want to keep the pond, but just going back to your comment, and I was gonna make that as well. If we really wanted to have a safe situation, keep the trees, we would let that go back to a natural system. And I know it's not what people want, okay? I understand that. But if you look at everything, the cost, the environmental, the mitigation, this is exactly what we need to do. We need to create more spaces to store stormwater, more wetlands, things like that. But I'm not gonna be pushing that because that's not what the community wants, okay? But to me, that would be the choice. And I just think it's irresponsible for this committee to keep discussing this for 8 years and have not yet come to a decision or feel like we haven't gotten the information. I think the information we don't like. So would I prefer to have a different situation where we can keep more trees? Yes, of course I would. I'd like to see something that's more environmentally friendly. I'd like to see something that protects our residents and we can still keep all the wonderful trees. I am not an engineer, so I feel like I'm being gaslit a little bit here about what's right and what can come up in the future. So I would be prepared to vote on one of these 3 options tonight because of what I just said, because I'm concerned about it. And I don't know how much longer we can go on. If that's not the will of the committee, I think we should get these answers quickly and we should have a hard date where we make a decision and not continue to let this continue.
What answers do you want?
Well,
What answers?
We had the Willow Pond Association here just talk about things that are happening that we could do, but I haven't heard about, and I've done a lot of research as well. I haven't seen all this stuff, and it could be years down the road. So that's the only thing I'm thinking. It seems like members of the committee have more questions than I do. At this point, I'm willing to go with what the experts are telling us over these last 8 years. What else do we need to know? What's holding us back? If we want to keep the pond, which to me is it's nice to have it, but it's not a natural pond. We created it 350 years ago. Then we need to decide. We need to decide. I'm not willing to keep going.
Councilor Bayless.
So I just want to address a couple of things. To Councilor Kelly and Danbury's discussion, I completely agree that the culverts and streams have to be addressed within this. And I want to understand why we don't have just the culverts and streams right around this, right over the road in Hull Road. Why are those not being included as part of this process? Not a whole citywide plan, but can we actually just include those? That's number one. Number two, the process here feels completely broken. And the Bullows Pond organization shouldn't feel this frustrated at this stage and have this many questions. It feels to me like the Newton Highlands project was what we just went through, where the community, they were involved, but they weren't involved, and you could see it in their faces. They're just like not included. And so while Councillor Leary is talking about making a decision, I agree. I think we have 95% of the information, but this is a public process. And I just feel like for some reason, the public is not included in a lot of these decisions. And either as well, like it.
Maybe.
Oh, we can see them.
Look at Tariq.
No. Can they hear us?
Um,
Can you hear us, Tariq? Excellent.
seems so.
Okay.
We've just had a slight technical difficulty in our original room. But we're going to be moving the committee in this room instead, if you will wait a little bit for us. Thank you.
Point.
I liked it when Mr. Nickerson was at this end.
Yeah.
Madam Chair, if I could just respond to Councilor Kalis' comment, I think there have been a number of instances, I'm just gonna speak up for Commissioner Sullivan. She has done some very detailed responses to many of the different questions, so, I mean, I think she would say, if she was here, that she has responded to many of these things and gone and, with Jim's help, and responded to lots of these kinds of issues. So I think from the department standpoint, they feel like they have responded to it. So I think I'll just say that for DPW.
And I believe that.
Yeah.
And I believe that she has responded in kind, but for some reason there's a disconnect. And we need to kind of bridge that.
So.
I want to be really clear for the record, the current situation as is not okay. All right, we are going to have to do something to address the dam. That very well may include removal of trees. I also want to be really clear about that. That is a distinct possibility. But the proposal here is removal of all the vegetation, throw some concrete or other, whatever they're called, blocks in, cover it with basically a thin layer of dirt, and put some grass over it. That's the solution that's proposed, which I don't think anyone thinks is particularly aesthetic at all. The problem is exactly what Councilor Kayla said. It's a process, and that's not a criticism of Commissioner Sullivan, but it's just like with Newton Highlands, when your local folks do not feel like they have been involved in the process, when they do not feel like the process is complete, frankly, it doesn't matter what the department thinks. It really doesn't. Because it's the residents who feel like they're not being heard. And this is exactly what happened with Newton Highlands. And, so my view is, and maybe the folks in the consultants are professionals, but, if they're saying an idea that's been put out there does not work, as Councilor Kayla said, lay out with the Bellows Pond Association exactly why it doesn't work. Lay it out. But I mean, right now, I feel like Councilor Leary's right. We've been talking about this forever. Although, in fairness to us, there was a several-year hiatus where nothing was done. So this is not us who's been sitting around for 8 years, okay? This was what, 2-3 years of nothing.
Well, my point is that the dam has been in a corrupted state for all
It's
that.
hard to be corruption state even before that, but the Office of Dam Safety happened to cite this in 2018.
But there wasn't really nothing. There were meetings over a period of that.
We had a whole
the
bunch
budget time.
We had a whole bunch of time where there was nothing going on, okay?
That is true. I think there were it was almost 2 years.
I've been on this committee for 8 years,
I
and we
mean-
have not been discussing it for 8 solid years.
We have not. And I've been in this committee my entire tenure. So look, I want to be really clear. It's the will of this council what it does. Councilor Chair Albright and I talked about that earlier when she wanted to put that out. It's her call. It's your call. I'll vote. My view is if the vote is to go forward, we respect that. If the vote is not to go forward, I personally will commit to promptly in January, looking at this, making it very clear, making it a high priority, looking at the downstream, which we haven't talked about, and coming back to this council very quickly with proposed solutions. And the solutions may be exactly what have been put out beforehand. I want to be crystal clear about that. It may not be anything different, but we need to engender trust in the process, and we can't delay further.
So let's.
That's my view.
Let's make some notes about what it is that you all think that we need to do. Let's get that, let's make a very specific.
Can I just add one thing?
Yes.
I also want to understand, that there's a statement in the regs about liability for a dam. Does that apply to a public entity as well as, or is it just meant to apply to a private entity?
Where's he? He texted me
And
and
that-
said that
and
he.
That's an important, I mean, a lot of times regulations apply to private
Not
owners
here,
of
not
dams,
tonight.
not public owners.
Well, we're self-insured and
That's irrelevant.
if we have a catastrophe that we've been put on notice for, I don't know,
But the
Like what
the
means-
regulation that's been cited to us that we are at risk of not complying with is related to if you are cited for a dam failure and you don't fix it. So is that regulation applicable to municipalities? Is it applicable to state, or is it only applicable to private entities?
I'm not an attorney, so
And it may be.
I don't know the answer.
I don't know, but.
We can get that answer.
Yeah.
We ought to find out.
The larger landlords are municipalities.
Yeah,
but
it's gotta be.
The larger landlords are.
Regulations all the time that are only applicable to private owners.
You would have put that in a letter to us if you didn't reply to us.
If you read the regs will state very clearly who it applies to.
Council Gentile has his hand up.
I just had one quick question, picking up on something that President Laredo said about people not feeling as though they've been heard, and in particular, the Bullows Pond Association. My question is, last I knew, Laura Student was the president of the Bullows Pond Association. And I'm just wondering if that's true. And if it is, I don't remember hearing anything from Laura on this item or any recommendation. And I'm just curious, again, do I have it right that she is still the president? I know we hear from others. And if so, why haven't we heard from the president?
I guess that would be a question for you.
Okay, she is the president, and this council has heard from her. The Bullows Pond Association Board has sent letters that Laura has signed. Laura's also published letters to the editor in the different Newton publications. She's also a member of the working group, as am I. So we tend to communicate with this body as members of the working group, but we have also communicated, and Laura specifically has been the signatory on communications from the board of the Bullows Pond Association.
Well, not my experience as far as, that's not been my experience as far as hearing from her. And she's not necessarily a shy person. She's a very qualified person and know her a bit. And I just a little bit surprised, Kathleen. We always hear from you, but we never hear from, I haven't heard anything from Laura. So,
I can send you a copy of the letters that she sent to the city council. I'll get this for you.
yeah.
Tonight she's at a meeting with the governor, so that's why she's not here.
Well, I haven't seen her at any meetings.
Oh, she's been.
I haven't heard her weigh in publicly, verbally at any meetings. So
Well,
I'm just not sure that everybody feels as though they're not being heard, is my point.
we have a board of 7 members, and the board decided that Laura and I would be the point people on the dam. And I have more time than Laura, so I'm the one who comes to meetings, but she and I discuss this every week.
Well, happy to hear directly from Laura at any time is the point that I'm making. So
Oh,
I'll
that's
just, I don't need to debate it. Move on. We can move on.
Mr. Gales, did you have your hand up?
I did, and to answer your question, I think it could actually be relatively quick. What we do need is a list of concerns from the Bullows Pond Association, written out so we understand exactly what those are and what has been thought to be answered but wasn't answered completely, or was proposed but wasn't answered, or wasn't sized, things like that. I would assume that Ms. Sullivan has responses already written to some of those, so that would be good. And then the ones that aren't, we get them to Mr. Nickerson and get answers. But I think that's what we need, and for all of us to be able to read.
And in addition to that, Kathleen, you talked about you described a specific option with the core wall.
Yes.
So could that get written up by you guys and submitted to the consultant who could then comment on it?
Sure.
The one other thing I don't want to lose sight of is the culverts and streams are right on Hall Street, like just that area. What do we need to do, and how much would that cost?
And ballpark, right? We're always looking for exact dollar figure.
Right.
Okay. Councilor Dan.
And yes, on the connection to the culverts, if we were to widen culverts. The question that I have is when we widen the culverts in that immediate area, what are they connecting to?
Mm.
Are we widening, are we doing a 60-foot culvert that's connecting to another 24-foot inch or whatever, 24-inch culvert? And if that's the case, then we could just do one culvert all the way to Watertown instead of doing.
I'm not sure how that would work.
No, you get my
I'm
point.
having vision from like,
Yeah.
Venice or something.
One culvert at a time.
Down the
But
middle.
if we're gonna put a 60-inch culvert in, you can't connect a 60.
Be careful how big you're talking about, there's
Yeah.
people's backyards you're talking about.
Yeah,
Keep
we,
it,
we can't connect a 60-inch to a 24-inch and have it do anything about it.
So is this something that,
Well, in terms of the stormwater system, I have to talk with the commissioner and the city engineer. Certainly, we have another team involved in the stormwater plan with Woodard and Curran. And so it would be potentially, if we're going to continue, we're going to look directly downstream, which we will as part of the bigger project, but we're going to also focus in on that. That's something, commissioner would have to decide what team would we use, probably
Oh,
Woodard and
I
Curran to do that.
okay,
So, I mean, GEI, your focus is our dams. So this is really his focus, and that's why we hired him. And, the GEI really, we have a top firm here. We really do have an expert in this, and that's why, we rehired a team and we went with GEI to do that. So, we have another great firm that's helping us on stormwater.
okay. So that would have to be on their shoulders there. Our nickels would go that with them.
That's certainly our nickels, so our stormwater nickels, yeah.
Yeah. And on this side of would be to provide an analysis of the option that BPA wants to see done. And what assumptions would you have to make some assumptions about what happens downstream? Or not?
I think the questions really end up being, how much water are we passing? If we are, in any of the three options we presented, we're assuming the dam is overtopping in every single one of those scenarios. So there's no difference to the downstream. If there is some scenario where we're changing how water flows out of the dam, then that would impact potentially how much goes downstream.
Yeah, I think the other component, I think maybe you would put it into one of your memos, Chair Albright, is the city very much wants to work on the mitigation aspects of this project. I think that's a really important part of this. No matter which option is chosen in the end, I think the city wants to make this a beautiful place. I have a huge vested interest. This is part of my walking route. And making a nice park setting here, so that whether you're sitting and looking over the forest or looking back over the pond, which Councilor Leary is going to stay, it's going to have to stay. So I think having that mitigation work done, whether it's invasive species that are removed, improving the sidewalks or other things, those are important aspects of this overall project too, and that will involve Parks and Rec and DPW's help. So that's something that we're not forgetting, the city shouldn't forget.
Yeah, that was one of my options was to add a parens B and a parens C, which talked about a working group for the.
Absolutely, working with the neighbors.
Yeah, working with the neighbors. And the other one was the mitigation on the downstream side, which we may end up doing as a parens B, because it's not directly related to the dam. So, yes.
So after our mayor-elect had made those statements and that we're talking about questions, I'm assuming we're gonna hold this.
Apparently,
If that seems to be the feeling of the committee. So I love the ideas about getting very specific with what the questions are, and putting it in context with the stormwater plan, I think is very important. But keeping in mind that stormwater plan is a very long term, and it's I'm also want to make sure that we're mitigating, if we have a storm, in the next 3 months, in the next 6 months, the next year, that I'm still a little concerned about the safety of that dam, but, and that also, flooding is gonna occur. We don't have anywhere near the capacity, nor will we in 2, 5, or 10 years if we get a storm like that. All we can do is mitigate the risk. And I'd like to be very clear about the context of the stormwater plan and the more immediate part of the culverts that are adjacent to Bullow's Pond, how much capacity that they can handle. And then, of course, the Bullow's Pond Association, I would like to see those, I think you said this already, all their questions in writing. And I would like to have the president maybe at our next meeting, maybe Laura could come at the next time we meet, which will probably be.
Sure, but if you think I'm scary, bring me her.
Well, and then I just want to be, I don't think you're scary at all.
She's talking to me.
So that's sort of just, I guess I'm gonna echo what I think I heard already, and that we have it in organized fashion, and we have all this information in front of us.
Catherine Howard would like to speak.
Okay.
Hi, everybody. I just wasn't sure if you're going to take comments from the public during this. I know it's not a
public hearing, but please go ahead.
Well, sorry, I apologize for commenting so late in the process of this. And these are just my personal comments, not associated with any of the groups that I'm involved with. But I'm not going to say anything that you don't already know, obviously, but there is a worldwide movement, including in this country and including right here at home, to remove dams, especially ones that are problematic or unsafe. And the benefits of doing that are great, are vast. They're including eliminating the future liability of having this dam. They restore the health of the river, the wetlands. They improve biodiversity, resilience, carbon storage, flood buffers, and marine life. It seems just counterintuitive to me that we would have this opportunity to remove a dam and not be doing it, and we could end all these liability concerns. So my questions are for the group. How much was the dam removal studied as part of this process? What were the short and long-term costs? Because the costs could be high in the short run, but be very much reduced over in future years. The mayor's letter that was sent a couple months ago said that the option had been ruled out because of its unattractiveness. And I have to say that's in the eye of the beholder. I think restoring what was Smelt Brook running through this area that was originally there could create a very beautiful meandering stream. It could have mowed green areas, walkways, native vegetation, native canopy trees. It could really be a beautiful place. I don't see why it has to be a problematic pond. But if the dam is going to be simply repaired, it also seems obvious that it should have a well-functioning fish ladder, because we are trying to restore the health of our waterways. And I don't know if there's going to be a fish passage or ladder included in the dam. But if it's not, I think it should be. And the design should at least allow for a future addition of a fish ladder.
Thank you for your comments.
Thank you.
In the rejection of that particular option, what was taken into account?
Yeah, a couple things. I think certainly the aesthetics and the history of Bullow's Pond are very important to this city. We do not have, other than Crystal Lake, we do not have a lot of water features in our city besides our big river and streams. I think the second thing too, and Jim can comment on this, is that the pond itself is a reservoir and helps mitigate flooding downstream during most rain events, except the most extreme events. And so losing the pond, potentially, depending on how it's structured, could create some real risks downstream. So during even smaller, medium, and certainly great sized storms. So I've been involved in dam removal projects. There's many places where we should be removing dams in the Commonwealth, and we are. I'm sure Jim's been involved in those as well, and they're exciting and they're wonderful things for wildlife habitat. But in this particular case, where your house is surrounded a pond and you have downstream risks like we do, a high school, an elementary school, and a village center, it's not something that we felt that was something to advance. I think that's sort of the bottom. Jim,
Yeah, no, I think all the key points.
Okay. I don't
Sorry.
think does anybody wanted to say anything more about that?
Can I just add one thing? I really did appreciate, Counselor Danberg's warning about the idea of not having large culverts, then, narrowing into very small discharge pipes, because that could create a whole different set of problems. So we have to look a little bit holistically here. I would just add that if we're going to hold that, I don't think that should delay our deliberating further to get answers to the questions. And if this spills over into the new term, there's nothing to prevent the collective knowledge that's been gained in this process from being carried over. The couple of new councils who might sit on this committee would be aware of that, and you can and should move quickly, it seems to me.
So I'm not sure everybody agrees with what you just, I like what you just said, that there are two separate issues. There's the dam and then there's the downstream side, and they might be on different paths.
Might be, but I think my point is that you're asking questions for both.
Yes.
I think we should
Not
continue to get the answers to both. I think there needs to be, I don't want to say better engagement, but renewed engagement with the Bellows Pond Association. That's ongoing, that goes now. And if it spills into next term, that we still take this up early, the council takes this up early next term, so we don't have further delay. I don't think anyone wants to sit around for another year
No,
and
we
make a
don't.
decision.
I was just wondering, are there other stakeholders that we should also be including?
I don't know, but I don't know, but I would certainly talk to Councilor Malachi, Councilor Mickley, Councilor Lucas. I mean, two councilors besides the chair, and just make sure. Look, if everyone genuinely feels they're part of the process and their concerns are being addressed, then we move forward quickly. We shouldn't be. I agree. I would not want to participate in further circular discussions about this. And again, I add that I have no preconceived notions of what the results are going to be.
Okay, so, obviously we have the notes and we have the recording for Commissioner Sullivan, who's not here.
Right. She should listen to this, but I think it's good discussion.
Yeah. And hopefully we can move forward with this quickly.
Yeah, and I think even, we'll talk with the commissioner, and I think, even over the next 2 months, we should continue to work to answer those questions, and then the commissioner then can work with the new administration, and you've heard from the mayor-elect, and I think we'll hopefully, continue to move forward and come up with a solution that, along with some of these other issues, the downstream issues and the mitigation. Yeah.
Okay.
Hello?
Oh, sorry, Councilor Gentile.
Just one other question, or comment. First of all, I think that Ms. Howard made some excellent points, and those should be responded to. I think you're going to, especially this issue of getting rid of the dam. But I just wanted to go back to the repair again. I've been with many of you since day one. It's, as you point out, 6 or 7 years. But earlier this evening, the chair made a comment, and I agree with it, that one of the reasons that it's taken so long is we hired an engineering company that had an expertise in this area. Some stakeholders did not like the recommendations, So we started over, hired a new firm, and as Councilor Albright mentioned, pretty much got the same exact recommendations. I agree with what she said. If you don't agree with that, I'd like to hear from you, because to me, two different quote experts who on an issue like this, I know that I would like to depend on them, because I don't know the first thing about dam safety. And as I said, they both came up with the same recommendation as far as how to repair the dam. I think you're going down the right path of sort of breaking this in, to two areas: the repairing of the dam and what should happen downstream. But as far as repairing the dam, we've spent some pretty let me take that back. That would have been a lame joke. We've paid some significant money to two well-experienced, highly regarded in this area for recommendations, and they both basically came back and told us the same thing. So as I expected, this will something that won't get settled during my tenure. You guys are going to have to carry it from here. But please all keep in mind the information we've already gotten from the people that we hired.
And thank you for that, Councilor Gentile. And if I could, what I'd love to do is hold this committee to, I guess, a standard of saying, we're gonna get the Billows Pond Association to write down their preferred option, their questions that haven't been answered. We're gonna provide that information to Commissioner Sullivan and the consultant. We're gonna get answers back. Willows Pond Association may not like the answers, but we will eventually have to make the decision. And we can't keep going around in circles on this. But let's see how this works out, and we'll discuss it again.
I just want to say that's also my recollection from Councilor Gentile, exactly as he said it. And I also think Ms. Howard made some very important points that have been overlooked for political reasons, I think. But, and it may, in fact, come that way. But I mean, I think it was dismissed too early, because this is exactly what we should be doing if we're committed to long-term stormwater protection. That's exactly the model that we have. And I just want to think people are aware of that. Even if we decide that it seems we're gonna be going and keeping the pond intact, which also is a lovely option, but it's more complex, much more expensive, and carries risk, just so we all know. Councilor Danbury?
And just to add to what Councilor Leary has said, I learned something very important tonight, and that is the comment from Mr. Yo that that it's not as simple as just taking the dam away. We have to consider the ramifications downstream, and if some of us, like myself, were thinking as we came into this meeting, well, we can always take the dam away and that'll solve the whole problem. That's not the case, according to what Mr. Yo has shown.
We'll get more information on that, but in addition to the obvious aesthetic issue.
Okay, I think we actually made some progress tonight. We know what information we're looking for now before we can make a decision.
The only piece I'd like to add is that the legal questions get answered. And
Yes,
specifically the
and
question
that's,
that
Attorney Lee has that question.
Yeah, but you spoke after he left, so I want to make sure he addresses your question.
I'm sorry.
He's not here.
He's not
And
here.
he's gone again.
So someone needs to capture that.
Yeah.
It's just simple, and it may be perfectly applicable. I don't want to suggest it's not, but we ought to at least get the answer.
We
We need to assess our risk. that's
Lisa
all.
has got it. She's got it. So, all set, and Counselor, before we vote on that, Lisa, when do you think you could get all that information down on paper?
Before the next time, I guess before the next time it's not a good time for me. I'm traveling soon and I have a lot of family things going on, but I'll work with Laura, put the questions together. I'll have to get back to them.
Can we get it by the next meeting, in 2 weeks?
That would be difficult. Take it up in 2 weeks anyway.
Yeah.
I would say 3 or 4 weeks.
We have a meeting first week of December.
Yes, yes,
Yeah, that's more realistic.
yes.
Okay.
So by December, I think December 3rd or something like that, we have a meeting. Yeah, something like that. By the way, let me just get a sense of the group. The walk, ride, roll, no, Washington Street data. We can't get it, I don't think we can get an analysis done by the first meeting in December. So if we want that this term, we would have to have an extra meeting, we were thinking on December 10th, something like that. It's also a Wednesday.
For the walk.
No, this is for the Washington, we've been waiting for data on the Washington Street pilot.
Okay.
And the data is being collected, analyzed and so forth, but it won't be ready for the first meeting in December. And this is what I'm told by Jen Martin.
So
So
that would be the only agenda item.
that would be the only agenda item.
Okay.
And that's for December 10th.
Yeah, I just wanted to know if you're interested in doing it that way. And it sounds like you are. Okay. Okay, so now Councilor Kalis has moved forward. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Abstention, opposition. Okay, thank you.
Recording stopped.